Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Today, the Sardarji is on holiday on Instagram, but we have the two resident F1 fans coming to you live. And we had a bombshell announcement last night with seven-time record holder world champion Lewis Hamilton announced that he's moving to the Scuderia Ferrari Formula One team from 2025. Aniket, can you explain to us what's going on?
I thought we joined this show to discuss about Haas's car launch, right? Was there something else going on in the world of F1? Was there something else going on?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
news
No.
that has taken everyone as a big shock.
Yeah, I thought we were going to discuss about the Haas's car launch or McLaren's new merch, but I didn't know we had something else also going on.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I totally forgot about the Haas car launch after this, man. Like yesterday, I forgot about Haas car launch. I forgot about Andretti being kicked to that curve. Like everything has just
yeah.
been forgotten with this big news.
So first of Feb is going to be remembered as a day which has kind of shaken F1 to its core. It could be the biggest move a driver has done in terms of the magnitude and the size of moving teams as well in F1 history probably. So I mean, if we discuss about Lewis Hamilton, right? He was a person who
Right.
was destined to remain with Mercedes throughout the end of his tenure in F1. So
Yeah,
we all thought that he's won, six titles with them. He's won seven titles with a Mercedes powered car. So obviously he's comfortable in that entire system, and there was, no reason for him, for him to move teams, especially to an Italian team
right.
like
Mhm.
Ferrari at this point. So yeah, this move has come out of nowhere. There were rumors obviously flying around over the past year or so, and but we've seen those rumors go to nothing because they never materialize past rumors, and
Right.
Lewis has himself denied any connections with a move to Ferrari before. So this just spinning up by itself, and then actually finalizing actually being finalized into a realistic deal in just a few hours, that was all extremely
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
And it's kind of like people will ask you, what were you doing when Lewis announced, or when Ferrari announced Lewis Hamilton as the new driver for
yeah.
2025?
Mhm.
What were you doing in that moment? So that is my
Yeah,
immediate reaction to this bombshell of a news.
yeah. It's just insane, right? Like if you look at Hamilton's association with Mercedes, it
Mm.
runs so many years ago. It's not just F1, right? Mercedes has supported him from his karting days,
Yes.
right? Like from when he was what 12 or 13 years, Mercedes has been sponsoring him and supporting him. And the only reason he's not been with Mercedes longer is because Mercedes exists in F1, right?
Yes.
For before that, well, they used to be the primary backer of McLaren, right? The McLaren Mercedes team, which was the famous team which gave us Mika Hakkinen's two championships and Kimi Raikkonen and all of them. And
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton signed with them in 2008,
Seven.
right? Seven, yeah. And
Yeah.
then he almost won the title in his rookie season, and Kimi Raikkonen just very, very narrowly pipped him at the end. And then his
Yep.
second season, he went and won it, right? And um, then 2009, of course, we had the phenomenal Braun GP season, which nobody saw coming. And then 2010, we had Mercedes that became Mercedes, and then but still McLaren still had Mercedes backing, so
Yeah.
Hamilton continued there. And then after what couple of seasons, when McLaren and Ron Dennis, the whole shenanigans happened with them, the team folded, and with the post Spygate repercussions, and then that's when Lewis Hamilton moved right to Mercedes, and he has been there ever since. Uh, I wonder what Toto Wolff is thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? When we look into the timeline of the events, because Lewis just signed a contract with them in what, last year August, so he put pen to paper on
Yeah,
a 2 year
yeah,
deal. So and it's
yeah.
kind of
A one
weird
plus one
because
deal. Toto's
yeah,
probably kicking himself for doing the 1+1 agreement now, right?
when we talk about the terms which Ferrari have rumored to be offering, I think obviously Toto is definitely going kicking himself. But in terms of the timeline, again, if we come to it, right, he signed a contract, he finishes 2023, and then obviously at the end of season press conference, he says, I think the team is going the right direction and we are aligned for 2024
Yeah.
and so on, giving positive
And
vibes
then
to the
just
team as
was
well.
it last year, a couple of weeks ago, when James Allison and Toto Wolff extended their contracts with Mercedes as well. I mean,
Yes, Toto
Toto, I
Wolff
mean, sure,
being
he
the
basically
latest
won.
who extended.
I mean, Toto basically owns the team, so that's not surprising. But even James Allison extended, right? Those are two biggest hotshots at Mercedes.
James
Because
Allison
there is much of Toto
extended
too. And
as well as he became like the primary person who will be spearheading this new 2024 car. He was
right.
not there for the 2023 and 2022 projects, so he's
Yeah.
returned because Mercedes obviously have had two poor seasons, and
Yeah.
so the hope was that
And then
Lewis
I mean,
obviously.
there are always rumors of Toto kind of stepping down because he's been the CEO for
Yes.
so long. But even he extended his contract. So I mean, I don't think anybody see it coming. And if you look at the reporting, it says that this is interesting that Lewis Hamilton told Toto Wolff yesterday after he signed the contract. Now you would think with such a long and storied relationship that Hamilton has
Hmm.
had with the Mercedes, company at large, the Mercedes F1 company, that he would at least maybe discuss with Toto, right? That hey, Toto, Mercedes has been good to me, but I think I want to try something new, and I want to activate my option in 2025, unless there's something to offer me, or maybe I want a new challenge. I'm thinking maybe a heads up or anything, right? But Lewis told him
Yep.
after he signed, at least as far as reporting goes, right? And apparently Toto was completely blindsided by that. So what do you think about that? Why do
Yeah,
you
it
think Lewis
seems
would?
like Lewis kind of made his mind up before actually stepping into the car, which is, weird to me also. Being okay, no biases. I'm a Lewis fan, so I don't want to put it out there
Yeah,
saying I'm not any other team supporter or any other driver supporter. Because being a Lewis fan, you try to obviously get into his shoes and understand, what could be the possible reasons for this. Why he's made a
right,
decision so early, because he's just got into a simulator and done a few laps around some
right,
track in the car, in the simulated car, and then obviously, I mean, I don't know what that simulator has done in terms of changing his mind all of a sudden. Maybe he had a bad experience with it or something, or maybe it's just ultimately the lure of Ferrari towards the end of his career that has ultimately told his heart to make this decision. That it's just like when other greats like Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, and all, they move to Ferrari, to try their luck
right,
at getting a championship, to a team which obviously is trying to revive its past glory days. So I'm not
right,
comparing Lewis's situation to them, because I feel Lewis is in a much esteemed position at this point in his career than Vettel and Alonso were when they made the switch. But it does seem like it's a bit of both. Like, it's a bit of him wanting a new challenge at the stage of career he is in, as well as to bring Ferrari a championship. Also, is kind of a lure to him at this point, where he thinks that
right.
maybe Mercedes may not be the right may not provide the right car for him in the future. It's a gamble. I mean, he's won so many championships
Yeah,
with them, and
yeah,
if I had to put money at this point, I would put on Mercedes, because they have a history of coming back, not coming back, but they have a history of championships over the past 10 years,
right.
but Ferrari
Yeah,
have not won since 2008.
yeah. And also coming to your point about Vettel and Alonso, um, Vettel and Alonso. I mean, yes, they wanted to race with Ferrari. Alonso also had race with McLaren in Hamilton's rookie season. They were still looking for more titles, and there was there always some instability in the current thing. Vettel Vettel also, I think he felt that his time at Red was coming to an end. It was probably different compared to Lewis, where there has been a long mutual respect between the two. And Lewis, I mean, we all know that he wants an eighth title, right? He has had seven, and all seven are with Mercedes teams. I mean, sure, one was a McLaren, but it was still Mercedes powered team. So he's
Yeah.
had seven titles with Mercedes, and I mean, it's an open secret that he really, really wants an eighth title to topple Schumacher's record, which is equal now. So considering that, and considering Ferrari's recent struggles, I highly doubt if Lewis will win an eighth title, because I'm a Ferrari fan. I didn't take the shirt out because Lewis moved to Ferrari. I'm a Ferrari fan from more than 20 years now, from the Schumacher days. And Ferrari is a garbage team. Uh, as
There's
Charles
no
Leclerc will very,
there's
very
no spin around that.
eagerly tell you that this team is crap. uh, I mean, there was some hope in 2022 when the season started off with a 1-2. Red Bull started off with double
Yeah.
DNF. Of course, and Ferrari won a couple of races in the beginning, and then their strategy team, completely went off the rails, and Ferrari just went from bad to worse and kind of threw that season
Mm.
away. And then 2023, after the rule changes where they increase the ride height due to porpoising, which
Yeah.
ironically Mercedes pushed for it, kind of. But then that backfired in the entire field, and we saw Red Bull run away with the title last year. Like nobody was even close to them. And seeing that the rules haven't changed much this year, um, or I don't think they're even going to change much next year, right? I mean, everybody's focused on 2026 now.
Yes. Yep.
We did see Mercedes improve last year, right? Lewis beat
We
both the
did.
Ferraris in the drivers' standings.
But was
So,
that because it was Lewis, or was that because the car? Because Mercedes and Ferrari were kind of like at par throughout the entire season. Maybe Ferrari towards the end of the season did more development, due to which they were on the front foot again. But do you think that was because Lewis, the driver, pulled it out? Because obviously we saw George's struggles in the same car.
right. I mean, personally, I don't rate George too much. So,
Yeah. Imagine being a Mercedes fan and now George being the lead driver. Yeah, that's gonna be painful.
yeah, I mean, so the thing is, obviously, we saw over the season McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes a kind of
Yeah.
made some strides to catch up with Red Bull. Obviously, nobody caught them except
Yeah.
that one,
Singapore
fluke
Grand
of
Prix.
race in Singapore. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody really, I mean, they made progress, but we still saw Max just,
Yeah.
driving into the sunset every race. Uh, but if you look at 2024 to 2025, right? Obviously, Lewis joins Ferrari in 2025. It's probably safe to say that Mercedes is not catching Red Bull this year, or any team for that matter, right? Unless something drastically changes,
Yeah.
or unless the FIA decided to kneecap Red Bull middle of the season, end of the season, say because they're too dominant, like how they did with Ferrari in
Mercedes.
2005, or they tried to do with Mercedes
Yeah.
during their period of dominance. But do you think that Ferrari is a team catching up in 2025?
I think 2025 will be more of a transitional year, as you said. Lewis' first season with the team. Firstly, he needs to get acclimatized to the new environment. It's an Italian
Right.
team. Lewis is a British driver. It's not going to be like, smooth sailing initially. And he's coming into
Yeah.
Charles's, team, because Charles has been there now so long. He's kind of the number one driver, though. I mean, Carlos has done an admirable job
Yeah.
last year there. But it's Charles's team, So Lewis has to
Right.
go there, make obviously get to know the people. I mean, if we talk about getting people from Mercedes, he might do that. Like getting Pete Bonington from Mercedes with him, maybe a
Yes,
few
that's what I want to
engineers.
ask you.
Yeah,
That's what I want to ask you. Does
we
Bonner
need
move?
Hammer Time, man. Hammer Time should come along with with Lewis, otherwise it's gonna be a problem. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Lewis would like to have some people follow him to Ferrari in terms of trying to get you know being as comfortable as possible quickly, so that he can deliver on track rapidly as well. But
Right.
I think 2025 will be more of him trying to get used to the car, get used to the team dynamics. It's a different team. Dynamics will be different compared to Mercedes. Building the relationship with Fred Vasseur again. He's Fred
Yeah.
Vasseur obviously was his I think F2 team principal back like in
Mm.
2006. So yeah,
Mm.
old relationships are getting revived now, and I think he might even finish below Charles. It's not like I mean, I don't think this we need to over exaggerate that. It's like kind of a realistic scenario. He might finish below Charles in the standings, and
Right.
2026 is the year where he's actually going to be focused on, because Lewis pulled off a masterstroke in 2013 when he joined Mercedes just before the new era started, and now he's
Right.
joining Ferrari in 25, and 26 is when the new era begins.
So
So
do you
has
think
Lewis
Lewis
pulled
is
off a
moving
masterstroke
in?
again? Yeah.
So do you think Lewis is moving in 2025 and not in 2026 to take a year to kind of bed in and adjust with the team before the new
I think it's
regulations?
I think that is the right right thing to do as well, instead of directly jumping in 2026 with
Mm.
the new regulations. I think 1 year is a good kind of a platform for him to get used to the team and all that, and it's a wise move. Doing it the year before regulations change, so
Yeah,
that he can establish himself into the team, build the dynamics with Charles as well, because obviously they're good friends. Being in different teams, but within the same team, there's always bound to be some chaos and some friction. So you get a year to do build all the rapport, guy, mentor Charles as well, and then once the regulations kick in, you have a chance now with, say, if Ferrari gives you a car which is good enough, go all out and try to get that one more title before you call it quits. So yeah,
right,
that's the
right.
that's I guess Lewis's plan and what he's thinking.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I think too. But it's going to be
Hmm.
an interesting next few years in F1.
Yeah.
Lewis has stepped up and said, silly season 2023 was a disappointment. So I'm going to shake up the drama.
Yeah, it was
And
kind of stagnant, right? Because Lando had
yeah,
signed this huge contract with McLaren. Charles has signed an extension with Ferrari. So there was nothing for us to talk about. And as F1 fans, we always need something to talk about. We did not expect
I
this.
mean, Max is
We
not
got
moving
it.
because Max is basically the
Yeah.
Lewis of Red Bull. So he's not moving.
Yeah. Yeah. So now with Lewis's move, we can obviously talk about what happens with the other incumbent, or not the incumbent, but the other outgoing
Right,
Ferrari driver in Carlos Sainz, and what happens to where does he go now?
right. So before we move on to Carlos and the other driver repercussions, which this will
Yeah.
invariably cause, right? And with Audi coming in the new regulations, I wanted to ask you, you know, Ferrari for a long time, even though Fred Vasseur and Binotto deny that happens anymore over the last few years, Ferrari have always had a clear number one, right?
Mm.
Um, we saw that during Vettel's last season when Charles came,
Yeah.
that Ferrari clearly preferred Charles over Vettel, right? And we even see the
Mm.
last few years where even though Sainz has kind of been a bit more consistent, the car is still made for Charles. Charles is given preference. He's the face of the team. He's basically what Lewis was, or to Mercedes, or what Max is like to Red Bull, right?
Mm-hmm.
Charles is, he's been with Ferrari from his junior racing days. He
Yeah.
was at Ferrari's kind of, B team, the Sauber team,
Yeah.
which is one of Ferrari's Indian customers. And he has such a long multi-year contract. They don't even say how many years it is. So
Yeah.
how are the dynamics going to be, you think, when Lewis moves? Because Lewis is not going to accept being number two, right?
Yeah. 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 For sure.
Even the I mean, because at Mercedes, after no number one with Nico, and we had that
Mm.
2016 where they both kept crashing each other out. Uh, Toto, after Nico retired, Toto went for Bottas, and uh, it was clear that Bottas was the clear number two driver, right? And Lewis has had the primary thing. Even with George, I don't think George has had that clear number one status either in the team, right? Lewis
Yeah.
commands way more. And so, yeah, how do you think Ferrari is going to handle this?
I think it's going to be interesting, right? Because obviously last season we talk about Carlos and Charles, right? They were kind of on equal footing. So maybe you can
Right.
take the example, like, though we might maybe agree to disagree in terms of, okay, they might have built a car for Charles, uh, you know based on his driving style and all that, but Carlos did an admirable job as well. So I think
No, no,
Ferrari did not. Hmm?
no, no. The reason I say that is if you see whenever Carlos wins a race or gets a podium, you don't see as many Ferrari garage staff on the pit wall or
I
at the celebrations.
I'm
Do you
not sure
remember?
on that. I don't
Do
know
you
if
remember
that.
when Carlos won Silverstone and there's like one guy standing on the pit wall at the checkered flag, one Ferrari guy. Compared to see when Charles wins it, it's like everybody in the mud is on
Yeah.
the pit wall.
So I think Charles had knowledge of Lewis coming, but because that's what the reports say, before he
Right.
signed that contract extension. So
Hmm.
obviously Charles is prepared for what is coming to Ferrari, and I would commend Lewis on taking this decision as well because he's raced against Nico Rosberg, he's raced against Fernando Alonso, Jensen Button. Okay, George might not be the best example, but he's still an up and coming young and fast driver. And
Yeah,
now
and we
he's
all know
taking
how
the
Lewis Hamilton was that season. Do you remember? There were
which one?
fireworks when Nando and Lewis are on the same
Yes,
team.
yes, exactly. I mean, that was
That
a
team
young
was
Lewis taking it to
fireworks.
Fernando. So,
Yeah,
so obviously, we need to commend Lewis on him now taking that challenge to go and try to dethrone Charles in his own team. So,
right.
I think Ferrari will try to establish equal kind of footing for both these drivers because obviously Lewis is not coming there to be a number two, and Charles will definitely not be a number two in his own team. So it's about who will get the maximum, who will extract the maximum performance out of the car. And it's going to be like, a seesaw battle probably over the first few races, get it into the halfway point, and then maybe Ferrari takes a call on who's got the lead in the championship or who's close to, say, Verstappen at that point, and then
Hmm.
take a call on whether we need to back one driver or if both drivers get equal preferences. Obviously, it's always problematic when you have two drivers in the running for championship, like you said in
Right.
2016 as well as in 2007 with McLaren as well. So maybe teams, trying to avoid that at this point, in this generation of F1. But with two, drivers like Lewis and Charles, it's like both deserve to, compete for the championship. So Ferrari will obviously try to give their best machinery to
Yeah.
both of them. And then it's up to the drivers then to see how they extract performance from the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ideally, that should
Final
happen.
thought before.
And I guess Lewis
Final
has
thought before.
signed
Yeah.
a massive contract with them. So it's not like Ferrari
Okay.
is
What
paying
are
Lewis.
the terms of the
Yeah.
contract? Have you seen that? The terms of the contract?
I mean, the terms obviously will not be official, but there were rumors from the Italian media that he could be paid up to 100 million euros a year or something like that, based
Oh,
on
wow.
his on track, performances, his some bonuses,
Uh-huh.
as well as his off track, much endorsements and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's
I see.
he's
Wow.
probably going to be the
Wow.
richest driver in F1 again. I think Max was the richest driver the last few seasons.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
Plus,
he's
he's
being
going to
paid
get
more
a
than
lot of
right?
support from Ferrari on his Mission 44 project, and I mean, all these reports are
Right.
coming out now. So yeah. So
Wow. So he's going to be paid more than Charles.
yeah. So Ferrari is not paying that much to number two, right?
Yeah. All right. So before we move on to the driver circus, do you think Lewis is winning number eight at Ferrari?
I think it's a tall order. I would love to believe it. You know, I would love to be optimistic. I'll not give a yes or a no. I'll say it's a 50-50 that, he wins it for
Okay.
because it's a new team. He's going into Charles's, kind of stronghold. So I would say it's a
Right.
50-50.
Hmm.
What about you as a lifelong Ferrari fan?
Yeah. It's exactly why I'm more pessimistic. So I think so. A couple of things. I think obviously it
Yeah.
depends on whether in 2026 if Ferrari can again deliver like they did with 2022, right, where they had a solid car at the beginning of the new regulations. So it depends on that. And I think it
Yeah.
also depends on. So Fred Vasseur has only been here for a year, right? So obviously he needs
Mm-hmm.
more time to implement his philosophy as well. So I think it's dependent on keeping Lewis aside whether Fred can implement his style.
Yeah.
Because Binotto clearly couldn't. Binotto did lose kind of lost control of the team.
Mm.
Ferrari has a lot of Italian politics because they are not just unlike Mercedes where Toto is the king, ultimate
Yeah.
king of the team. Ferrari has their the factory, the actual automobile company Ferrari that kind of uh, sits above them, and then there's
Mm.
Fiat on top of that. So there's a lot of Italian politics at play. So I think it depends on whether Fred can do what the last Frenchman did at Ferrari, Jean Todt, if he can kind of exert
Yeah.
his own thought So much so that John Todt was kicked out of Ferrari because Luca, the new CEO of Ferrari, was unhappy that Schumacher and Jean Todt and Ross Brawn had so much control of the team. So I think it depends on Fred and how the new car is in 2026, and of course how Lewis and Charles, how the dynamic is, right?
Yeah.
Because what we're going to see is that now Ferrari has two drivers on multi-year contracts, right? In both Lewis and Charles.
Mm.
So we don't see transfers like football in F1. So they better be they better work together well. They better
Yeah.
play well with each other because they're stuck with each other for a long time.
Yeah. So we've seen obviously, videos and friendly banter between them, friendly moments and all that. So let's hope it
Right.
continues. Let's hope
Yeah,
it's
I'm
a
hoping
good
that
beginning
maybe.
for them.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem from some of Shah's and Lewis's past interactions, especially in 2019, where was it Bahrain when Charles was on track to win it and then the car bended for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Lewis is always kind of we've seen
He's
his
hyped up
more.
Charles quite a bit also. So yeah.
Yeah, and also we've seen a more mentoring side of
Yeah.
Lewis with Charles, but also you can argue that Lewis probably didn't see Charles as that much of a competitor then, right? Ferrari wasn't that good,
Mm.
but now they're in the same team, so obviously dynamics are going to be very very different.
Yeah. I think cannot wait for 2025, man.
Yeah,
I wish it was this year first. I mean, I would have to wait one more year. So it's
there
going
was
to be very
some late
interesting.
report yesterday that it might actually be this year, but that was probably entire media just hyping up to the to the
Yeah. Yeah.
to the roof.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, let's talk about the repercussions.
Yeah.
What happens in 2025? So if you see the grid, right? Except Max and Lando, because it was except Max and Lewis, but no, it's except Max and Lando and Charles, and obviously Lewis now.
Yeah.
But everybody else, all other contracts end at the end of the season,
Yes.
including your Carlos Sainz's and George Russells and Kevin Magnussen's and Alexander Albon's. Everybody except what? Four drivers, right? Lando
No, I
Norris,
think
Lewis Hamilton.
George also has a extension till 25 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
maybe
but
we can take George out of it as
at least
well.
as of now, we haven't seen any news of either team or him activating it, right? So basically, I mean, yeah, it's probably that George will extend,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think he's there to stay. So
pretty much everybody else is up for grabs. So what's going to happen in 2025? Does Lando try to back out and go to
I th-
Mercedes? Does Carlos
so
try to snag the Mercedes seat?
yeah, if we talk about the immediate driver who's going to get replaced, right? Carlos Sainz, man. I
Yeah,
mean, I feel for him because he's done such a good job being at Ferrari, and now when you have a
right,
driver like Lewis available, and Ferrari is like, we're getting in Lewis and we're going to just dump you next season. It's hard on someone who's actually been pretty consistent, you know, in that team. So I think Carlos would like to definitely have his options open. He's got a lot of options as well. Mercedes being one, and then I think the Sauber team being one, where it becomes Audi in 2026. So that could definitely be a kind of a lucrative move for him, where he could lead that new project. And then the other options like joining Williams or something like that. So
right,
I think Carlos is a guy who will be in high demand because he is a very capable driver. He can, I guess he's capable of leading a team as well, and he's kind of competed well with Charles in that Ferrari team as well. So Carlos will
right.
definitely get a seat somewhere. We can speculate on that, be it Mercedes or Sauber or something else. But he's getting a seat. But when we talk about the other drivers, right? Now we talk about the empty vacant Mercedes seats. Obviously,
Yeah,
the
who's getting that?
yeah.
Who's your biggest
Who is
betting
going to
monster?
replace Lewis's 6 championships with Mercedes now? That's the question.
Yeah,
so but the question for Mercedes themselves is, do they want to have another George Lewis kind of a situation, or do they want to have a Lewis Bottas situation where George becomes the new number one driver, and say they get someone like Albon, who is good mates with George, but he is probably a little slower than George in that Bottas
mhm,
territory when Bottas was there at Mercedes. Put him in that Merc and then just support Russell, you know, in terms of helping him in the championship and getting Mercedes, good points, and them then competing in the constructors. So I think
Right.
Mercedes will have to look at these two sides, which in terms of which direction they want to go.
But
And
or
hmm,
do you think George can help Mercedes challenge for titles?
I think
Because
this
Mercedes
season
have
will,
generational
yeah,
talent in Lewis Hamilton, right? So like they pretty much had the modern day Michael Schumacher with them.
yeah.
Uh, like Ferrari is still finding for their Michael Schumacher. So do you think
I
do you
think
think George is
Toto is pretty high on George, so and this season will probably tell us a lot about how George is going to, be leading that team, because I don't think Lewis is getting preferential treatment or even equal treatment this season, because Mercedes would like to see George succeed.
yeah?
Now henceforth, I mean, although Lewis has been there for a longer time and won so many titles
And
with
I
them,
think Lewis will understand that too, I guess, if George gets the preferential treatment, right?
yeah, I'm sure that if there's only one set of updates coming for the specific race, George might get that over Lewis. So that's definitely going to happen. So this season will tell us a lot. I mean, will George actually outperform Lewis, because he had a very shy 2023? So can he recover and get back to where Toto Wolff thinks he is, that is in the league of Charles and Lando and
Right.
so on. So and then yeah, it's Mercedes' call whether they want to go with the Carlos Sainz route, whether they want to bring Alex Albon, or whether they want to bring in a young driver from their Mercedes driver program like Kimi Antonelli or something like that,
Mm,
which is like a far fetched idea, but
yeah.
that could also be an option.
Or hear me out. For 2025,
I know what you're
you
going to
know,
go to.
which other driver is free for 2025 and is very, very highly rated, and maybe Toto would like to take a punt.
Mm.
It's Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri did not. Okay, I was thinking I want to go in another direction. We have another like 43-year-old driver on the grid. I thought you wanted to talk
Oh,
about him.
Alonso, I don't think he's coming back.
Because Alonso
I
is
mean,
always there to
Alonso,
be
sure.
opportunistic and
I mean, yeah, I mean, Alonso would be an interesting team too because last time he was at Mercedes was actually McLaren, right? Um, Alonso would definitely be interesting, if Aston Martin continue to, hype
mm,
Stroll up and, kind of screw their chances. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a possibility because I don't think Aston Martin actually is that good because they
yeah,
basically just copied Red Bull and then once other teams caught
yep,
up, they were unable to improve pretty much, right? So yeah, Alonso would be interesting if if Mercedes want to say have another mentor for George for a couple more seasons if George is not
mm.
developing as fast as they hope. But
Yeah,
what about Oscar
I agree.
Piastri? Oscar Piastri was very good this season. He gave Lando a
Mm,
real run for his money, right? And
mm,
this is rookie season. And also we must remember that he didn't race for an entire year before that because of the Alpine shenanigans,
yeah,
right? He was idle for a year, and then he joined McLaren, and he was really really good. He won a sprint. He's one of what the only two or three drivers apart from Max who has won anything in 2023.
yep, I
I wouldn't be
agree. I
surprised
mean,
if Toto is thinking, is Oscar Piastri is Lewis Hamilton for 2025.
so obviously with Lewis's departure, it gives like a lot of time for Mercedes to consider the options, right? I mean, he's announced it right now, and there's a year for him to move to Ferrari, so they have some time to think about what they want to do. I mean, it's an attractive seat, right? With a team which has probably been the most successful team over the last 10 years, and then you're getting to
Right.
drive alongside George Russell as well, and then Toto Wolff is still there, James Allison is there, and so on and so forth. So it's a big team. There'll definitely be options. Mercedes would like to think they will be available for a lot of these drivers, but they have to understand that the commitment you give to a driver now, will you give a commitment for him on a multi-year deal, or will it be a stopgap option before somebody younger
Yeah.
comes in?
Mhm.
So that is the kind of decision they have to take. Piastri
Also,
definitely comes to mind for sure,
also,
but he's
hold
under
on.
contract till 2026. So again,
Yeah,
if
Piastri has to
he's able to get out
2026.
of it early, but
I
the
was
but
wrong.
what the at this point, what do you think is a safer bet? Will it be McLaren or Mercedes? Because of McLaren's improvement last season, they kind of
Right.
outshined Mercedes, in so many races last season. So I think Lando is probably, I don't know if he's regretting his option to extend, but I think McLaren is also looking good at this point. Who knows what will happen to them in 2026, right?
Or maybe, maybe Nando comes to Mercedes for 2025, races for a couple of seasons, and then let's say 2026, Mercedes is better than McLaren. Do you see Piastri in 2027 in Mercedes?
I think we're just going like pretty wild in this because it'll be like it's a parallel universe, right? So
Or do we see Checo Perez in 2025
no,
in
I think Perez
Mercedes?
is retiring probably soon. I don't think he's going to be there in 2025, based on what things are, based on
Right.
how what reports are coming in. But it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting. It's going to take some time though. I don't think Mercedes are going to come out with any kind of news before the season starts. I feel that it's something which they'll probably announce towards the middle of the season. I mean,
Right.
at best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Really, a really crazy, crazy 48 hours in F1. Like,
I
I don't think
agree.
anybody saw this coming. I don't think Lewis Hamilton's girlfriend saw this coming. Uh,
I don't think he's in a relationship, but I don't think any of his close girlfriends. I don't think anyone
yeah.
in his inner
Saw this
circle.
mom, who is closest to him. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Right? I don't think Fred Vass's wife saw this coming. Uh,
I mean, his immediate boss didn't find it coming, so didn't see it coming. So I mean,
yeah.
imagine that. Imagine how tight-lipped the deal had to be for his boss not to know. I mean, just before the meeting which Mercedes had yesterday
Right.
afternoon, I think that's a day before that is when Toto Wolff gets a call from
Yeah.
Lewis, sits down face to face with him, and then Lewis tells him all this. So
I
yeah,
really,
it's
I really wonder even when Lewis and Ferrari made the decision, because if you see Ferrari's press release, it was very, very shoddy, right? You had this big
mm,
ass Ferrari logo saying that Lewis Hamilton is joining Ferrari for 2025. Like, like
they had nothing
how
prepared, right?
was this, right? Like, uh, I mean, you would expect Ferrari to at least make a Photoshop of Lewis in a Ferrari suit or something, but this is
Yeah,
not even a photo of Lewis Hamilton, just a Scuderia Ferrari logo saying that Hamilton is joining them.
I
Like,
don't think maybe they
how did
cannot
you?
do that due to legal issues because he's still contracted to
No, but
Mercedes till the end of the
at least
season.
put like a stock photo of Lewis Hamilton. There was nothing in it,
Yeah,
right? Or
that
a photo of
I can
Lewis
argue for that.
Hamilton meeting Fred Vasseur, right? Wearing a Ferrari cap, something. There's nothing at all.
I think there's plenty of time for Lewis and Ferrari merch to come out. So it's just we gotta wait a year for that. But it's definitely gonna be weird seeing Lewis in red overalls compared
Yeah,
to the black and silver overalls which he's been wearing. Even McLaren was kind of silver, right? So it's
right.
been
Yeah,
back
McLaren
to
was silver.
2007. So
Yeah, McLaren was called the Silver Arrows before Mercedes took it over.
yeah, correct. So it's gonna be weird, and I think you know it'll be interesting to see now how the market develops. Obviously, Carlos and Mercedes deciding, and then the other teams will also start deciding based on who goes where, and this circus is going to continue throughout this entire season.
Yeah.
So I would say the off-track events will be more significant than the on-track stuff because
I wonder. I
I'm
wonder if
expecting.
teams are going to be scrambling to tie down their drivers now, right? Their favorite drivers.
Yeah, I would think that. I would Let's see who does that though. I mean, because there'll be quite a few available drivers in the market like Carlos, who will
Yeah.
definitely like new opportunities as well. So it'll be interesting to see who does what. But yeah, we've had an interesting 24 hours, 48 hours, probably the most interesting 48 hours
Yeah.
in F1 history, I guess, or maybe at least in the recent times, at least in recent times. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely recent. I mean, we had Senna and Prost doing all kinds of crazy stuff. That was like 30 years ago, right? I mean,
yeah.
last few
But
decades have been kind of stable. Like Vettel
yeah,
to Ferrari, we kind of saw it coming for a long time because of
yeah.
German roots, right? And also Red Bull wanted to kind of, I guess, wanted to
Ob-
promote Max, right? Because
yeah.
Max was such. Do you think Sebastian is sending a midnight text to Lewis saying that you made a mistake?
Yeah, I mean, I also did not see this coming, and initially, I mean, I was also skeptical about this as to why he would do it, but I mean, you got to put confidence in him, right? He's made his decisions earlier as well, and that panned out well for him. So, I mean, if history repeats itself, we're going to commend him. We're going to, like, praise him for that, if he wins a title or not. But
Yeah.
even if he does not win a title, he's still going to end his career with Ferrari. I mean, he's still going to get that in his, in his profile or whatever CV, and that's going to be considered as part of his legacy. So he's going to go out with a bang, whatever
You think he's
happens.
retiring at Ferrari?
I think this could be his last move because he's probably signed up till 2026 end or 2027 end. So what,
Yeah.
he'll be 42 at that point, and he definitely has off track career prospects that he wants to pursue, like into
Clean.
music or
Right.
promoting diversity in sport and so on and so forth. So I think this will be his last contract in F1, which is going to
Yeah.
be sad,
But
but yeah.
well, Nando is 42. He's still racing.
Yeah, obviously Fernando has, left a path for ageless drivers in F1. So,
Right.
but it depends on what
Or do you
Lewis's
think Lewis
interests
will come to
are.
Mercedes after Ferrari contract is up? Will Toto take him back?
That was, well, he was supposed to retire there. He was supposed to become the ambassador, lifetime ambassador there. So I don't know how all that works now. So it'll be
Yeah.
weird. It'll be damn weird to see him driving a Ferrari when Mercedes is still around. So yeah,
Yeah. I read 44 in 2025.
let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
Let's see him win
Welcome
some
to the US
races.
T40 family.
We just follow Lewis Hamilton, man. This team LH. Cut it out. Whatever. So yeah, I
All
think we
right.
went. I think we got everything in, right? Is there anything else we missed out on?
No, I think that's about it.
I think the
Can't
car
wait.
launches will be very weird. Ferrari is on 13th Feb and Mercedes do it on Valentine's Day on 14th Feb. So that's going to be super
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, Carlos must be devastated. He was trying to negotiate a long-term deal with Ferrari.
He was going to get that
Yeah.
before Lewis was available.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, also if you see, there was always, there were some rumors that Carlos, was trying to get that deal, but he was not getting that deal, and Ferrari was hesitant. I guess this is why they're hesitant, right? It was Lewis all along.
I know. And Ferrari's president has been in close contact with Lewis over the past year. So there's a mention of some kind of a courtship there and all that.
Yeah.
Ferrari trying hard to get Lewis on their side. So yeah,
Yeah, but
it
Ferrari has
is.
been trying for Lewis from forever, man. Like,
Yeah, I think
I think
Lewis could have
people
joined
come and
Ferrari
went
back
and left.
in 2019 or 2020 as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, Lewis is a top driver, right? Ferrari was probably has been trying from every year from 2020 last 15 years to get
Yeah,
Lewis.
exactly. I mean, I
Yeah,
would say it's as long as, I mean, if you go as far as 2007 also, when he had the falling out with Alonso, that there was some reports where Ferrari was trying to get Lewis in case he was available. But obviously, Lewis stuck around with McLaren at that point. But they finally got him at this point.
right. All right then. Uh, Good talk, and can't wait for the 2024 season to kick off. Actually, I should say can't wait for the 2025 season to kick off, isn't it?
we have a
2024 is a bit up at this point.
we have a whole season in between, and it's gonna be super
Yeah,
awkward. It's gonna be another
yeah,
long season where people are trying to chase Max. So
yeah,
yeah, just bring on 2025 whenever it does start. So yeah.
yeah. All right, man. Good
Yep.
chatting. Mm. All right, guys. We will see you the next time. Sports with Sardaji. With the Sardaji next time goes live. So take care, everybody.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.